This conference will now be recorded.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. Dr. Doug Smith here. It is time for our podcast. We got cut off yesterday, right after we got started. And it's because I live way out in the country, and the internet out here is few and far between. So today I actually drove to the barn, and I'm sitting in the car with the dogs and trying audio only. And so far, it sounds like I've got a good enough signal. So we're going to give this a try again, and our apologies for communication problems. So we're going to pick up right where we tried to go yesterday. And if you look at the screen, okay, you'll see a part of the citizens petition. Okay, that's what we're doing here on these podcasts. This is where people go when they want to hear the truth. This is where people go when they want to hear the science of what actually happened during the opioid crisis. For those people who were caught up in the opioid crisis, or for their family or loved ones, friends, neighbors, whatever, if you really want to know and understand what happened because of the opioids, this is the place to be. And so what we're doing is we're going through all 49 pages of the citizens petition, page by page, and going over what the citizens petition actually says, because we plan on using the citizens petition as a springboard to bring about an end to this opioid crisis. And what you're looking at right here, as I was saying yesterday, is when it came time to present the facts in the citizens petition, what I did was I followed the example of the tort lawyers, okay, the toxic tort lawyers, those lawyers who sue companies for poisonings, okay, because quite frankly, the highest level of evidence required when it comes to toxicity is the evidence required in court to find a company guilty of poisoning someone. And so, if that's the highest standard, well, then let's see how our data, our science stacks up against the highest standard. And so, as an example, I took an article by three authors, Green, Sanders, and Gold, from 2016. Uh, and what the authors did was they broke down what's called factual causation. That's the word, factual causation. Factual causation. Did X cause Y? And if so, what is the evidence that X caused Y? Did the opioids cause genetic damage? And if so, what's the evidence that the opioids caused genetic damage? Did the opioids cause methylation in the OPRM1 gene? And if so, what's the evidence that the opioids cause methylation in the OPR1 gene? And what Green, Sanders, and Gold did was break factual causation, did X cause Y, down into five categories: one, two, three, four, five. General causation, specific causation, signature disease, biomarker of exposure, and biomarker of disease. Now, that's the highest level possible. And if you're going to go into a court of law, this is the standard by which you're going to be by which you're going to be measured. And quite frankly, I think this stuff is going to go into a court of law. I think a lot of people are going to be angry that the pharmaceutical manufacturers push out a product that poisoned them, and they're going to want to do something about it, and they're going to go to court. And so what I did was I took the evidence that we had and I broke it down into the five categories: general causation, specific causation, signature disease, biomarker of exposure, and biomarker of disease. And in the coming days, we'll go through each and every one of these five, one by one by one. And the whole point here is that there is more than enough evidence, scientific evidence, that the opioids are going to be found guilty in a court of law. And the threshold of evidence required to find the manufacturers guilty of producing a toxic product way exceeds the threshold required for the FDA to issue a warning. In other words, why didn't the FDA issue a warning? Why didn't the FDA issue a warning about the opioids and the genetic damage? And one of the first questions to answer is, well, was there evidence? Was there enough evidence? Was there enough evidence for the FDA to issue a warning? And of the five categories, general causation, specific causation, and the other three, if you've got evidence for general causation, you've got enough evidence to issue a warning. Congress set the threshold for the FDA to issue a warning at uh, very low. Okay, very low, and we've got more than enough evidence right here in front of us for the FDA to issue a warning. And that's my point, is the FDA had enough evidence and they did not issue a warning. They had enough evidence and they didn't issue a warning. The FDA had plenty of evidence that the opioids were causing genetic damage, and they failed to issue a warning, which means they failed to live up to their mandate that was handed them by Congress. And these are the things that we're going to have to look into. So we're going to hold here for today. Glad Alex is feeling better. We couldn't do this without Alex. Everybody, when you reach out to us, please, great big thank you to Alex. And also, please like and subscribe us, and put these videos on your social media and everybody else's social media, and let's get that out there. And tomorrow we will pick up with the scientific evidence for general causation and go from there. Again, my name is Dr. Doug Smith. Thank you very much for joining our podcast, and we'll see you tomorrow.